Among the things which make our fasts batil, we discussed few yesterday, arising from the eating and drinking which invalidates our fast. There are certain clarifications which our ulama have done. Those clarifications are very important. First of them is, if there is saliva which is collected in the mouth, some people have the habit of collecting saliva in the mouth, or if something very tasty is being cooked and we are in the house and the good smell and fragrance of the food creates collection of saliva in the mouth, or when you remember something which is sweet or bitter, whatever being your taste, suddenly you find your mouth collecting saliva, that saliva, if it is taken in, will not make your fast batil. This is particularly important because it is said that in the month of Ramadan the Muslims create a habit of spitting everywhere. But actually we do not have to spit, because collection of saliva in the mouth and then taking it in and swallowing it does not in any way affect the fast. Of course, the cough that comes out, the phlegm or the sputum as we call it, that Ayatullah Hui says, if it has not yet come out into the mouth, if it is within and one draws it in still having not come out into the mouth, the fast will not be affected. Once it comes into the mouth, then it must be spit. It cannot be swallowed. The food particles which collect in our gums and teeth cannot be swallowed. If it is collected, it must be removed. If it comes onto the tongue, it cannot be swallowed thinking that this is male ghanimat. It's not male ghanimat. It has got to be thrown out. The other thing that Ayatullah Hui has said in connection with eating and drinking is that injections of all sorts, inoculations, immunizations and treatment where the injection becomes necessary, injections do not make your fast batil. Many people have still they are laboring under the same misunderstanding. And when they go to a doctor, if a doctor tells them that today you must be inoculated or injected, they consider that the fast is gone. It is not so. Fasting does not affect the injection does not affect your fast. You can have injections. The only injection for which Ayatullah Hui has said that it is better to exercise some precaution is in the case of those injections which are given purely for food value, where somebody goes and says, I want to be injected with some vitamins, food value, because I'm getting very weak during my fast. Those injections which have food value in it, they are makruh to take. Even they do not make your fast batil. So this is very clear. Now what remains is those ill people who have got asthma, and because of breathing problems during daytime, they are forced to take inhalers. Now, if they can do without it, then they will fast. If they cannot do without it, then because they will take it direct into the mouth and it will go down the gullet and down the throat, therefore there is no fasting for them. If it is imperative, if it is very necessary, then of course they will not fast. But if they can do without it, because there are cases and cases in asthma, so those who can do without it, they will fast. But when it becomes necessary during daytime, if a person has kept a fast and suddenly he feels the breathing problem and it becomes necessary for him to draw the inhaler, then he will and break the fast, right? And then he will give qadha if possible. If a man can never give qadha because of a permanent form of sickness, we shall be discussing that later. The second thing, this is the fifth now, because this was all in conjunction with what I said yesterday. Now the fifth thing which makes fast batil is purposeful, or rather purposely vomiting. Vomiting purposely. That which is involuntary, that sometimes people do vomit in first or second fast, or if they were unkind to themselves by eating too much, and then the next day they find that they must involuntarily throw up, not voluntarily. That does not make your fast batil. What makes my fast batil is throwing up voluntarily. That means causing myself to vomit. Thereafter, the thing which makes my fast batil is to allow to draw in anything which contains heavy particles, dust, or maybe I stand at a place where, for example, particular grain is being ground, and the grain powder or flour or whatever goes into my mouth, or it just descends into my throat. To stand at such a place purposely, even smoke, and under this comes smoking, because anything that goes under to the throat by drawing in, not by eating, whether the thing is edible or not edible, it may be even dust. Dust is not edible. I purposely stand at a particular place where there is so much of dust, and I inhale that dust. That, of course, makes roza batil. To submerge yourself into water so much that your head goes in it, either by first diving or by first going by the body and then gradually merging. When the whole of head goes under the water, roza is batil immediately. Only when somebody throws you in, somebody pushes you in, and you have got into the water involuntarily, you could not control yourself, or you slipped and you did not want to, you didn't intend to go, then of course your roza will not be batil. But if you went voluntarily, and if you allow your head to merge, so when you go swimming, you may go swimming, you're allowed to go swimming when you are fasting, but be careful that you cannot allow your full head to merge underwater while you are fasting. And there is one more thing which is called enema, to allow laxative, purgative to be entered into the body from the rear, which contains liquid. That's called enema. That is for purging the bowels, for cleaning one's bowels. Sometimes the doctors do tell us to allow them to exercise enema. Now that is a fluid. If it is a dry enema, then the roza will not be batil. But if it is a fluid, and normally it is, which is injected or rather inserted from the rear so that the bowels are clean, that makes roza batil, and it invalidates. And most important of all, for all of us, is to remember that to remain in the state of janabat till subh sadiq, that means fajr, purposely will make roza batil. So gentlemen, ladies, sisters and brothers, married or unmarried, this can be the case that when a person finds that he is now in the state of janabat and ghusl has become wajib upon him, in the night of Ramadan, the ghusl must be performed before subh sadiq, not before sunrise, before fajr. And if a lady is in her period and she becomes clean in the night, then she must do her ghusl hayd also before subh sadiq, so that she can fast on that day. And if a mother has delivered and her period of nifas is over, nifas is not 40 days. Many still in the household, in the family, believe Chalidi sudi matho nadunu kape. That is wrong. There is nothing like Chalidi in Sharia. This is not true. Nifas follows hayd period. If a lady mother has a period habit of 7 days of haid, her nifas will be 7 days. And in any case, it will not exceed 10 days. So after 10th day, if the bleeding continues, that is istihada, and she will have to follow the laws of istihada and pray and even fast. So that let us be very careful. If 10th day or blood ceases to appear, then the lady, the mother, will have to take bath before Subh Sadiq to be able to fast. I have said this, the rest inshallah in the details I will go further. But if there are any questions which remain unclear, please draw my attention so that I can second day clarify it, and for the benefit of all who are present. And on Saturday, I have already told some of the friends that we will have a class here, which normally I have every month on one Saturday. That class is here, which will begin about 10:30 for those who are interested. And I will allow as many questions as can be put on these matters so that they can be discussed, and the following night we can further clarify it. I have said this, the rest inshallah in the details I will go further. But if there are any questions which remain unclear, please draw my attention so that I can second day clarify it, and for the benefit of all who are present. And on Saturday, I have already told some of the friends that we will have a class here, which normally I have every month on one Saturday. That class is here, which will begin about 10:30 for those who are interested. And I will allow as many questions as can be put on these matters so that they can be discussed, and the following night we can further clarify it. Last night we spoke briefly about that aspect of our life which I call spiritual. I say this because while the elders know this, for the young people it is very important to know that the secret of everything in life here, according to Islam, lies in one particular spirit. And that spirit is obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ta'ah. You go to Hajj, you are told to sit here for the night, stay there for the day, go around the house of God 7 times, right? Be here from this time to that time. That is, you follow it because it is qurbatan ilallah and ita'at, obedience. We come to the mosque, we are told to pray in a prescribed form, we do it qurbatan ilallah, it is ita'at. In the month of Ramadan, we have been told to fast if we can, it is ita'at, that is obedience. And the same way, everything in life, even those things which are sunnat, that means optional, voluntary, even they, the secret behind is obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, there are 2 or 3 things I would like to clarify. One, this principle of obedience is not to benefit Allah, it is to benefit ourselves. These are very fine points, although they are very commonly understood, but sometimes the most uncommon things are the common things. These are very fine lines in Sharia, that this particular ita'at is not for the benefit of him whom we obey. It is for our own benefit. Now, if this is understood, the whole thing changes. Let me give an example. No aspersions, but if a boy reads one more dua, people start immediately becoming fidgety. Why are we giving him more? He is satisfied with one small dua, why give him another one? Because the attitude is that we are giving. If the attitude was that we are receiving, we would have given more and more. You understand the philosophy? Many people come and sometimes suggest, not here, elsewhere, that give us iftar first and namaz later. As if few minutes would make any difference. And for that there are meetings and resolutions and whatever. But if you look at it, you'll find that the attitude is, when we believe that we are giving to him, then of course human fitrat, human nature is always miserly as when it comes to giving. When our alim will tell us that in the night of Maha Ramadan, it is sunnah to pray, say, so many rakats every night. Or one tasbih of Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, for example, 100 times every night. Immediately I try to say that now this is giving again. So I try to be lazy about it. In Dua Abu Hamza Thimali, which is to be read in the Sahar, Imam alayhi salam says, Ya Allah, I do not understand why. Whenever I stand on musalla or sit on musalla to remember you and start reciting something, either sleep overcomes me, or laziness, or something within me tells me enough is enough. Oh, you have done too much now. You have become a very pious man living. So the idea, the attitude is that we are giving. When it comes to giving, people are a bit miserly and niggardly. But when it comes to receiving, people know no bounds. So for that reason, the attitude has got to be changed, that in ita'ah, it is not giving, it is actually receiving. When it is receiving, then we do it with all the love. That is why Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, said that if you are doing an amal which is sunnah, that is not obligatory, like reading Quran or dua or anything, see that your heart and your mind is in it. But the moment you feel that now you don't feel like, you are not inclined to go forward with it, don't force yourself into it. For at that time it becomes meaningless. Why? Because one has not understood that he is doing it for the sake of himself. That is one thing. Why I say this? Because in any case, whether we like it or not, whether it is in this community or any other community, this religion or any other religion, where ita'at has gone out, it does not mean that they have been able to escape. The law of God is not such where we can escape. We can be transgressors, but we can't escape. Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Islam in Dua Kumail says, وَلَا يُمْكِنُ الْفِرَارُ مِنْ حُكُومَتِكَ. Oh Allah, it is not possible to escape from your kingdom. So whether ita'at one assumes or does not, suppose one says, I don't care. Prayers, I don't care. Fasting, it's only for the 18th century. All those things, I just don't care. Right? He's a free bird. Is he a free bird? Is he a free person? He is not. For few days, he will feel himself free. But I can immediately sense in him so many other shackles and so many other chains which will try to enslave him. That is why Allah says, if you be my slave, you are freed from all slavery. But if you leave my slavery, then you are chained by all others. Have one master, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the Prophet said, he said, he who assumes and accepts obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah frees him, emancipates him from all other chains, so much so that he fears none but Allah. And in matters of Sharia, you'll find him giving preference to Allah and not to people, not to relatives. When it comes to the matter of Sharia, it is sometimes, God forbid, and God forbid I say this, it is sometimes a matter between my son and Sharia. If I am telling my son not to do this, it is Sharia. But if I don't tell him, my son is happy and pleased. For the sake of that son, I am displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will leave me near the grave and will never enter with me. to be buried. Will he? And he might not even remember me. He might weep and cry for a few days and then forget about it. But for him I have done. And on the day of Qiyamah, Mawla says, and we shall inshallah read in the nights of Qadr that munajat of Kufa. Inshallah we will read. In which Mawla quotes from Quran, where he says, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. On that day of judgment, when man will run away from his own brother, from his own wife, from his own children, from his own friends, so that they may not ask for any favor, or they may not claim that you did not do this particular duty towards me. For that son, for that husband, for that wife, for that friend, I have tried to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just imagine what we are doing. So sometimes I wonder whether we have understood this all. We are doing it for our own selves, to elevate us, to enhance us, to raise us, not for the sake of any ritual. It has got to shake us and to have some revolution. 2 examples I'll give and then finish, because I always believe that this is a subject which might not be very interesting, but it is very important, and the dosage has got to be limited. If it is a heavy dose, then it might create problems. I was reading the history of Hyderabad, Deccan, which is in India. And those of you who know, it was under the rule of Nizam. Nizam was the richest man on earth in his time. I mean, even today, after India has taken over Hyderabad, Deccan, still the treasure of Nizam and the richness and wealth of his children and his son-in-laws is such that put together it can mean millions, today even. Well, in his time it was a monarchy, kingdom, and the people around him always strived and tried and worked hard to please him, because the king, if he is pleased, everything is good. There was one particular muqasida. Muqasida means where we sit down to hear to qasida in, say, on the day of Miladun Nabi, or on the day of Imam Ali Islam's Wiladat, like that, where you only hear qasida. It was muqasida, where the great poets were supposed to come and give some tribute to Aimma alayhim salam, and Nizam was invited. Nizam was a Sunni, but he had love for Ahlul Bayt. He came there, and together with him the ministers and assistant ministers and whatever came. In the second row, there was an alim who used to get 30 rupees in those days per month as a stipend or salary for teaching the children in Nizam's household. What? Quran. Quran. You can imagine a man who is given how much? 30 rupees. A man with tattered clothes came there. He was invited also, sitting in the next row. And it was announced immediately that this program will begin with tilawat of Quran Majid. As usual. A qari stood up on the dais and he started with tilawat of Quran Majid. Now as he started and he recited, Nizam, as was his habit, never kept quiet. He always tried to assert himself by talking. And next to him was his minister, and he started talking with him. Quran was being recited. Talking to him, whispering and talking. And this Maulana who was behind him said, Huzur, the Prophet has said, and Quran also says, when Quran is being recited, keep quiet. Now today I have just very easily told you what happened, but you can imagine what happened then. People were actually terrified. There was an earthquake, because no one could tell him, this man has spoken. So Nizam looked behind. Who is this man who dares tell me? He looked, and then he thought, he saw that man, a faqir, who is receiving that. So he said, there are many such people here. Maybe today he is slightly off his mood. He started again. Quran was being recited, and he started again. This time, this Maulana from behind said, Huzur, I have told you once. I am telling you again that while Quran, the word of God, is being recited, you must keep quiet. If you will do it again, I will tell you again and then walk out. I don't want to be a party to a meeting where Quran is being recited and somebody talks. At that particular moment, as we say, Dekh se zyada chamche garam. You see, the chamchas who were there, who stood up immediately to arrest him, because this was now too much. And at that time, Nizam said, no. Don't arrest him, leave him. And then he kept quiet till Quran was over. After the program, people went to Maulana and said, you better make your will ready, because this is a death warrant. Do you know what you have done? And he said, yes, I knew what I am doing. But it is ta'atullah, not ta'atul makhluq. I have got to tell him. Who will tell him? It is Quran being recited. Now, if he wants to butcher me, kill me, let him do it. But I have spoken the truth. When Nizam went home, he first inquired. He was told that this is one of those who receive your salaries, 30 rupees. He said, call him. The moment he was summoned, the people went to summon him and also told him that you keep your coffin ready, because you have done what you have done. And he went there. And the king stood up to receive him and then said, I was thinking that there was no brave alim in my time who lived lillahi ta'ala. But I am happy that there is a person who can tell me. You have opened my eyes. And I tell you now that whenever you see me slip, you must tell me again and again. For you have done it qurbatan ilallahi ta'ala. The Prophet said, who fears Allah? People fear him. He does not fear. In the matters of Sharia, in the matters of obedience to Allah, the preference is always to Allah. That is the meaning of that freedom. And I hope we have understood this, and more of it will come, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah give us tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.